Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I'm the Grace Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Wednesday, August 7th, 2024. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first 5 cards in our 5-card spread? First card, we are starting our day off with today. We've got 2 cards coming out. We've got here our Ace of Swords in its upright in combination with our 9 of Pentacles. I told you this retrograde's hitting a little bit different. It's hitting a little bit different this time. Why is this happening? Because we've got a lot of really very interesting things that are occurring in tandem here. We've got this Mercury retrograde that's occurring as we shifted into Leo season. So there's a lot of work that's been occurring, particularly in relationality to setting new energetic standards. A lot of this work was already kind of pre-done, we're seeing, in that retrograde shadow period, because that modality, that experience that we had between the 2 Capricorn full moons that created a lot of that focus. And I know it may have felt like there was a lot of externalized pressure that was coming towards you in that time period. What it was really doing was it was really helping you navigate and define and build upon your own sense of focus. For masculine and feminine energy, deep within the divine union frequency, a lot of that work that we saw that was potentially occurring had to do with navigating spaces and places of reactivity, recognizing and identifying the changes within the self in terms of how you navigate situations that you may have found that you were overly reactive in the past. For a lot of the energy facilitating through some of that work right now, a lot of the work that we're seeing that's occurring right now as we enter this retrograde period has to do with building into that sense of having those energetic breakthroughs. So a lot of that work in identifying the changes is what's allowing this retrograde to be one that allows for the expansion point in breakthroughs, in relationality to what you want to set your course on going forward. And a lot of this here, a lot of these breakthroughs are potentially occurring right now deep within the divine union frequency, because it's a navigation point in recognizing and identifying how far you have come. There's just a lot of this energy that we're seeing right now. And that is a bit of the gift that we're seeing that the retrograde brings up. If we are using our own energetic powers of observation to navigate forward while also looking back towards the past. So we see even now that for a lot of the energy navigating those spaces and places, that ability to introspect upon something in a way that you haven't before is specifically being facilitated upon the feeling of being in a point of stability within the self, enough so that you feel like you can have that point of being able to perceive something from a point of energetic strength. We saw a lot of that strength coming into the collective yesterday. We started our reading yesterday with a lot of that strength energy, and that strength, that sense of stability within the self, that is what is allowing for a lot of that work in relationality to being able to recognize and identify again, and especially and particularly if this is energy that may have been looking at the past with some feeling of pain, looking at something that created some of that energetic conflict, the ability to articulate upon something that used to become a space of reactivity, that used to become a space of pain, but being able to observe it, but not inhabit it. That in itself is what we see so much of the energy right now deep within the divine union is experiencing, that is allowing that modality of having an energetic breakthrough. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is moving into the divine union frequency right now, this is a lot of the comfortability and the relief and release that we're seeing, particularly and especially if these were energies that in the movement of in the action of taking something that you felt was intrinsically whole, right? Redefining one's own perspective of relationships in the process. We are seeing that for a lot of the energy doing that work right now, recognizing and identifying that energetic difference between something that doesn't feel like it's in alignment and hoping that moving something deeper into a connection would fix it, rather than moving something that feels like it's intrinsically whole deeper into an energetic connection. A lot of the energy in this experience right now is recognizing and identifying the relief if that has occurred and you still feel the same way that you felt prior to doing that work. So for a lot of that energy, that feeling of release and relief, it's almost allowing you to get to begin, because a lot of that energy, that's why we saw that shift in terms of moving something into a deepening energetic connection. It was the ability to be able to plan long term, the ability to set one's sights further into the future. For a lot of the energy doing that right now, this is that moment of that vitality and excitement that's potentially coming through, because it is feeling that the intrinsic strength of the connection persevered and like through that energetic cycle. While for masculine and feminine energy that is in separation right now, a lot of that energy that's in separation, this is a lot, I'm going to say it now, this is a lot of energy right now in separation that is just having that modality or having that experience of feeling karmic closure. Specifically and particularly because something about those experiences that we see that are coming through right now for so much of the energy in separation, if these are places and spaces where in masculine and feminine energy we're seeing something in relationality to a potential counterpart that is giving them clarity or redefining their own energetic standards as it relates to going forward. I'm seeing even now that even in these modalities that aren't necessarily leading to divine union, there's a lot of that release and relief that's potentially coming through, because again, as we said, this is the setting of new energetic standards that is helping to articulate and define what one has changed within the self versus what one may have allowed oneself to experience from the past. It is having a different impact on masculine and feminine energy. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. If this is masculine energy that is recovering from experiences wherein it felt like nothing you could do was ever energetically enough, continually trying to push forward towards feminine, but always feeling like that ability of seeing how far the lengths that you were trying to go wasn't being observed, or something was taken energetically personally. A lot of this energy of masculine is coming into that point of healing in relationality to receiving something in the present that frames the context of experiencing a feminine that doesn't take something too energetically personally, that observes and recognizes the efforts of the lengths that you yourself are going towards. So even in these experiences wherein, again, it may feel like the obstacles are making it too difficult to be able to have an energetic breakthrough, we've got two different modalities here. Either this is energy that's still working through some of those problems, trying to find something that feels like it can create an easement point, or this is energy that is having a healthy separation moment, a moment of recognizing and not taking something energetically personally that's allowing for a modality of breakthrough. While for feminine energy, if these are experiences where in the past you had those modalities where it felt like everything you tried to do to move closer to masculine always felt like there was always that new obstacle that felt like it was thrown in the way. The smallest inconveniences becoming massive hurdles. For feminine energy to have the modality of seeing the intentionality of masculine moving towards feminine with a pathwork of integrity and determination. That's a lot of the feminine energy right now in separation, again, laying forward in those new energetic standards, and that ability of recognizing and identifying that, it's allowing for a lot of that energetic balance to occur right now in separation, specifically and particularly because this is the feminine energy that, again, is almost releasing some of that energetic fault if it was feeling like the feminine felt like there was nothing that they could do that was enough. So we see even now both masculine and feminine healing in this way in separation that's allowing that groundwork in relationality to the success going forward. Second card in our 5-card spread for today is, we have here our King of Cups in its reversal. It's a little bit more emotionally overwhelming right now for the masculine. Why is it more emotionally overwhelming right now for the masculine? Because what we're identifying, and specifically for the energy right now in separation, some of the, and we saw this in relationality. This is what we're identifying with some of these tangible obstacles that are being navigated, because a lot of this work is building into the articulation of what is tangibly possible, but what is also emotionally navigable, right? So that's often what we're seeing right now with some of these energies that are coming into that are in these modalities of separation. right? Because if these are modalities wherein those obstructions are too great, there's something that feels like it's not achievable in order to try to facilitate a connection point through. It's emotional. It's like it creates those spaces of emotional difficulty. But that emotional difficulty, and this is the important thing, it doesn't feel like it's based or held upon the accountability towards the counterpart or the potential counterpart. This is the energy that, again, is potentially either trying to work through those energetic hurdles while not taking it personally, or they're trying to come into those modalities of closure, but they're feeling a lot of that emotional overwhelm in the process. But what occurs in those experiences, and that's why I keep seeing that a lot of this work right now, it's like oppositional to heartbreak, because heartbreak often creates a space or place of having a pain, like experiencing pain and not understanding why. Like not being able to understand. The lack of clarity is what creates that feeling of energetic heartbreak. While that sense of heart expansion is one in recognizing and identifying the sense or space of the energy that feels like they're doing everything they can, but circumstances are such that it makes that modality of being able to move in the way that one aspires and desires possible. So we see even now that for a lot of that energy and separation, there's it's almost a bit of a pivot point between recognizing and understanding, like the frustration of trying to navigate a practical problem that suddenly lends insight and clarity to anything that felt like it was an unnecessary problem in the past. For masculine, feminine, and masculine energy, we even identified that there may have been some modalities of closure that were occurring, especially over the last week, wherein it may have been the expression point of a feminine articulating that something about the tangibles was too emotionally overwhelming. This is why we see that there's so much of that masculine energy right now trying to navigate, again, trying to utilize some of this retrograde energy to try to discover some kind of workable energetic solution. Because we see even now that that's a little bit of the masculine energy navigating between what feels like it's tangibly possible versus what feels like it's emotionally navigable. And we see even there that and we even identified this could be some energy and separation where someone is offering to make a lot of these large energetic changes. And what do we see a lot of the healed feminine energy doing in that modality? This is a lot of that feminine energy that may be saying to masculine, I don't want you to feel like you need to make those changes on my account, right? It's almost the masculine seeing the feminine coming towards the masculine to such a degree of compassion, wherein they're articulating and saying, I don't want you to do that for me. I want you to do what you feel is right for you. And even in that experience, we see that's a masculine almost saying towards feminine, well, this is what I desire and aspire. So there may, even here, there may be, it may feel like there's a lot of emotions that are being experienced and expressed, but it feels like they're productive conversations. And again, similarly for feminine right now, seeing a masculine, doing that work, trying to really articulate upon what can be productively fixed, but navigating that navigating that emotional territory. We're seeing even now the feminine almost saying towards masculine, I don't want you to make changes on my account. I want you to make changes for the betterment of the self. We see even here there could be a little bit of this energetic territory that feels like it's a little rugged. While for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union right now, a lot of this work that we're seeing for the energy coming into divine union is more being articulated on relief and release, because a lot of that energy coming into divine union right now, if these are the energies that have made those changes, because we saw that a lot of that energy that was moving into divine union over the last few weeks was articulated upon some big changes that were potentially occurring in circumstances and situations in order to move a strong, fortified, energetic connection into something that allows for the ability of long-term growth. We see even now that a lot of that energy is just feeling a lot of that emotional overwhelm to a certain degree, specifically and particularly because it's the ability to let go of some of that anxiety and fear. For masculine, it may be feeling a little bit more difficult because, as we said, for some of the masculine energy coming into divine union in this way, calibrating for that, there's a little bit of this overprotectiveness that we're identifying that is potentially arising around some of the masculine energy moving into divine union at this time, because this is almost that energy of masculine that is like feeling that sense of security from the feminine, feeling that sense or that desire to be in the presence or space of the feminine. So we see even now that for a lot of the masculine energy navigating that territory, like I want to say that's just that, like that's that deep sigh energy. That's just like that mode. Like this is a lot of the masculine that is almost allowing the feminine to see that softer side of themselves, because they finally feel like they're in an environment and space or place where it feels like it's safe in order to do so. While for feminine energy right now, a lot of this energy moving into divine union at this time, you know, having that expansion point, potentially seeing that masculine energy, again, potentially feeling that same anxiety point as to whether something would remain the same if you moved it into the deepening of an energetic connection. Seeing those other sides of the masculine, recognizing those, inner child wounds, if you will. Like a lot of this work is almost like the energy that's looking towards one another and saying, everything I see, I just want more of, because that's the energy that like recognizes that when you take something that feels like it's intrinsically whole and you move it into a deepening energetic connection, it's like you're raising the volume on something that was already good. So we see even now like a lot of that energy is feeling a lot of that. It's a very emotional day is what I'm seeing, but a day of like easement and a day of like some, like I want to say a lot of emotional sharing. While for masculine and feminine energy, that is deep within the divine union frequency. A lot of this work that we're seeing right now, it's a little bit more difficult for masculine. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Specifically because if these are experiences wherein masculine energy is trying to redefine their own way of navigating from a place of energetic strength, trying to bring forth compassion while also maintaining energetic standards. Like a lot of this energy of the masculine right now, it's a little bit more difficult, because it feels like a lot of that energy, it feels like trying to move that energy within the self in comfortable ways, in ways that don't feel like they're emotionally overwhelming. Especially because I feel like there's a lot of weight the masculine is putting on their own person in relationality to trying to create some feeling of energetic security to a certain extent. So this could even be like a moment of easement that some of the masculine energy needs to receive, kind of within the divine union frequency, and helping them recognize and identify that, like, you know, again, and we've had this come through a few times, the masculine, you know, identifying and recognizing that the intrinsic value of the masculine is not focused or determined in their own ability to create like that sense of energetic safety. Like almost like I told you, this is some of those inner child wounds that are coming to the surface, because we see even here that there's something about that experience of feeling that space of like when the masculine allows themselves to be vulnerable. Like this is a lot of the masculine energy that's confronting their own vulnerability in that way. While for feminine energy right now, a lot of that work that we're seeing within the divine union may be based upon helping a masculine energy navigate some of those emotional hurdles within the self. Because for a lot of the masculine energy, that ability of identifying that it's safe to feel, it's safe to heal, it's safe to like feel those emotions and recognize the security of just being able to articulate through them instead of reacting towards them. Like that's where a lot of these like healthy energetic bridges are being built. Third card in our 5-card spread for today is, we've got here our Wheel of Fortune in its reversal. So it's, again, I'm not like, listen, it's the retrograde. We're probably going to see this Wheel of Fortune in its reversal card up a lot. Things have a tendency of feeling like they slow down when we hit these retrograde periods. Like it feels like stuff moves to a grinding halt. Now, depending, and this is why we always do so much work in the pre-retrograde shadow periods, to make sure that we're in a space of productivity. Because like that slowdown can feel overwhelming if you're not energetically prepared for it, right? You feel that slowdown. You're like, everything's stopping, but it's not, it's just, it is the time. Like it moves things into that space of an energy of a grinding halt. So what is best to do in those modalities where you start to feel that energetic slowness taking root? Don't let it create a state or space of stagnancy. Let it become a space of productivity. That's why we see even now, like this is going to be a really beautiful break. Like we were talking about this yesterday. This is some beautiful energy in this retrograde right now to start. And I know they always say, I know I'm talking counter oppositional to what you often hear during retrograde periods, but I'm just seeing here that there's something about this period right now that it's a very good time to build into building new projects, putting some new direction towards spaces and places right now, specifically and particularly because so much of the work prior to this retrograde was built and based upon building into a point of focus, right? Prior to the entrance point of the retrograde period. There was a lot of that past recall that was happening right before the retrograde cycle began. And there was a lot of work in terms of building that sense of focus. So being able to amplify on those two lessons, right? Like that allows for that ability of laying new ground, building new path work, having a lot of that like kind of set the direction going forward right now. So a lot of that work, it's a little bit more frustrating for masculine because it could, I'm getting here that for some of the masculine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, navigating that feeling of energetic restlessness, like that, like I can see even here that's why it feels a little bit more emotionally overwhelming for the masculine. Feminine's getting more practical in it. Feminine is just like, is getting more into the practical focus of things. Feminine's just taking that time and putting it in, utilizing it a little bit easier into practical effort. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is coming into divine union. A lot of this work that we're seeing for the energy coming into divine union right now is based upon and built upon that feel like there's a little bit more relief and release that is potentially occurring here, specifically coming for the energy coming into divine union. Because if this is the energy that is coming into divine union at this time, I told you, a lot of that retrograde, like a lot of that work was done in terms of deepening an energetic connection. And now we see that energy is already in the process of building those new possibilities, building into those deeper plans. So that same idea that this is a very good time to be working through the plans going forward right now. I'm getting a lot of tangible and energetic unpacking that's potentially happening here. And so for a lot of the energy, feeling that sense of moving something into a deeper energetic commitment, but still feeling like the intrinsic nature of something persisted, that feels both fortifying and overwhelming, though it may be creating, again, this may be creating a little bit more overprotectedness in the masculine coming into divine union, which may need to be navigated specifically and particularly if this is the energy that is trying to come into a space of mutual, and I even see tangible easement. There could be a lot of energy right now that's moved into closer proximity to themselves, to one another. That's requiring a little bit of that, I told you, that organization kind of energy. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, in separation, this is a highly meditative moment. Because I'm just seeing that for a lot of the energy in separation, being able to absorb a profound, important, energetic lesson, a lot of that energy is having a breakthrough in relationality to what wasn't working in the past versus how far you've come in terms of seeing something in the way that you're seeing it now. So for masculine and feminine energy, that is and it is having a different impact for masculine energy right now that is in separation. A lot of this feels like a sense of problem solving. A lot of this feels like something here about navigating and identifying what feels like it is within your power to change versus the circumstances as they are. So we see even now this could be a lot of that masculine energy, going through some kind of experience wherein again they're like assessing, going through one's own experiences of the past to try to determine and define like how to overcome some kind of energetic hurdle here. And for some of the energy right now, again, this could be a lot of conversations in relationality to time and planning, specifically and particularly if there is something that is still being navigated here about a tangible obstacle, and trying to navigate through it, or try to navigate in a way that feels like it's more emotionally balanced for the feminine. While for feminine energy right now, a lot of this is feeling a little bit more fortifying in the sense of potentially being able to build into a point of closure. Because for a lot of the feminine energy, again, seeing the vitality or the intentionality through which a masculine is coming towards you, if anything, it might not feel like it's so overly emotional. It may be creating spaces or places of frustration for feminine. Because if there was energy from the past that you felt like didn't move towards you with such like consistency or energetic determination, it's almost like a lot of the feminine energy looking at some past experiences and almost identifying them as feeling like something like where, again, like trying to navigate something that felt like it became an energetic hurdle instead of moving in a productive way. So there could be a lot of emotional unpacking that is occurring in these modalities right now. But, it feels like it's productive because more than anything, it doesn't feel like it's volatile. It doesn't feel like it's reactive. It feels like it's contemplative and self-assessing. Fourth card for our 5-card spread for today is, we've got 3 cards coming out. I'm going to read all of them because that's what we do. We've got here our Devil card, our Death card, and our Temperance card in its reversal. So, the one thing I want to stress against is, and especially, I want to say especially right now for the masculine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Not letting yourself get triggered right now. Because I'm just seeing here, there is something about today that is requiring the masculine to try to navigate through some spaces and places of emotional overwhelm. Feeling a little bit of that energetic frustration point. Being able to again, I'm going to say this, letting that frustration empower you into new path work forward here. I'm just seeing and recognizing that a lot of that work that we're seeing is potentially allowing for that space or place of having some of those breakthroughs, identifying like what feels like it is, there's something that feels like there is a productive solution to it, as opposed to something that you're trying to just navigate through. While for feminine energy and separation right now, a lot of this work that we're seeing for the energy and separation right now may be built and based upon those modalities or experiences of, again, releasing any frustration as it relates to past experiences. Because for a lot of the feminine energy right now, building into that context of feeling like you're having something in the present experience that's allowing for that authenticity of an emotional connection with masculine, there's a lot of reframing I'm seeing that's happening for the energy of the feminine in separation. But again, it's that feeling of frustration that often, like sometimes the way we feel about something changing is what allows for karmic release. So we see even now that for some of that energy, being able to come into that modality, like even while for masculine, it may be feeling emotionally overwhelming, while for feminine, it may feel more frustrating. It does feel like it does feel to a certain extent like it's cleansing, because it's either for masculine, it's recognizing the tendencies in the self and not becoming reactive. For feminine, it's, feeling that, like having that reframing in relationality to past experiences that's amplifying that ability to move forward in productive ways. While for masculine and feminine energy right now coming into divine union, a lot of this work that I'm seeing for the energy right now that is coming into divine union is just I want to say this is the energy that's getting to know one another in such a way that you're seeing that those nitty-gritty aspects of the counterpart. You're seeing all those small things that you might not have seen energetically before. But even here, what's beautiful about some of these energetic connections that I'm identifying is it feels like they feel navigable, is what I'm seeing, right? Like it's almost like it's like, I'll put it this way. We all have our best and our worst moments, if you will, right? But what happens in those modalities where we see someone at what we think is like their energetic worst? That's like almost when we look at someone and say, you recognize that your energetic worst is the best that I've seen. You know what I mean? Like your energetic worst is like the best that I've seen, because that's that ability of recognizing, again, that amplification point, that our job here isn't to be perfect. Our job is to be the best that we can be for ourselves and for those around us. So even here, if there's that modality of seeing those those parts of the self that we're working on correcting, these are like the aspects of the counterpart that is being perceived and embraced in the process. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is deep within the divine union frequency, a lot of this work deep within the divine union frequency is navigating those spaces. I told you a lot of this work that we were seeing that was occurring in the divine union frequency right now specifically has to do with working through a lot of those wounds from the past. And we talked about this a lot yesterday. There are some wounds from the past that we recognize never fully heal, right? There are some wounds from the past that we recognize are always there in some extent or some form or another. So what we're really identifying and seeing here for a lot of the energy deep within the divine union is observing, recognizing, like what they are, how far you've carried them. And for a lot of the energy, confronting them within the self, observing them in such a way, and almost coming into that space or place or recognizing that when you experience or find a wound within yourself that you feel like you can't necessarily heal, that the ability to effectively carry forward with it in such a way that it feels like it doesn't impact those around you. Like a lot of the energy, just observing those energetic tendencies, talking through them to a certain extent, is what is helping a lot of energy recognize that to a certain extent they've already overcome them. Because the ability to observe them, the ability to recognize them, the ability to see them, like that is the energetic breakthrough to a certain extent, because that requires that sensor space of identifying that you're not inhabiting them. Fifth card in our 5-card spread for today is, we've got here our Justice card in its reversal. So for a lot of the energy right now within Divine Union, a lot of this work during this retrograde period is simply recognizing and identifying those spaces and places within the self that potentially that have tendencies of coming into imbalance. Right? But again, what are we seeing that feels like so much of an important breakthrough for a lot of the energy that is deep within the divine union frequency? The ability to articulate through a tendency as opposed to reacting towards it is usually the step that amplifies the fact that you've already effectively overcome it in some way, shape, or form. Because even here, we see that a lot of that work of identifying and recognizing it, like that ability, like what happens in the moment that we're able to observe an imbalance within the self. Well, we can be energetically mindful of it. We can work to facilitate correcting it. So we see even now that for a lot of the energy deep within the divine union frequency, navigating those imbalances, and these are either the imbalances that may either occur via within the self, this could almost be a lot of the energy like within divine union saying, like, if you notice I'm doing this, do that, like, you know what I mean, like almost like facilitating through that in a way that allows for new pathwork to emerge. Because this is the energy that, again, by setting the new energetic standards going forward, they're almost articulating upon the imbalances of the past. So there's a lot, I want to say there's a lot of this transition energy that's occurring right now, but a lot of it feels like that energy is working to try to correct for anything that feels like it is imbalanced. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is moving into the divine union frequency. A lot of this energy right now that is experiencing this is experiencing the fact that the things that feel imbalanced right now is because you've moved into the deepening of an energetic connection. It's almost to be expected, right? This is almost the energy that if they're seeing those sides of the counterpart that they haven't seen before, like that was a lot of the purpose and the reason that the energy was moving deeper into the energetic connections to begin with. So we see even now, there's almost like a little bit of this like adjustment period that we're seeing for a lot of energy right now coming into divine union. And a lot of it feels like trying to find a new way to be in energetic union that feels like it's like, I want to say that feels like it flows to a certain extent, especially if in the past these were energies that had a bit more distance between them. While for masculine and feminine energy right now that is in separation, this is more of that navigating through something that feels like it's very energetically frustrating. I can see even now there's some energy right now that's in separation that feels like the circumstances are less than ideal and the circumstances are frustrating. But I'm identifying even here that for some of the energy navigating those frustrating circumstances, but seeing either the patience on the part of the feminine or the clarity, and the masculine doing what they can to try to facilitate change. This is what's creating clarity on anything that was imbalanced in the past. Continuing to get, and that's like a lot of big energy for the energy in separation, because that's like, that's like dealing with the hurdle in the present while also having it recontextualize the past in the process that sometimes can feel like very like overwhelming, even in the modality of experiencing a breakthrough around it. Continuing to get clarification between our Ace of Swords, our Nine of Pentacles, and our King of Cups in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with the Ace of Cups. I love to see this card here because it does articulate to me that this is productive. This is productive work that's occurring right now for the energy deep within the divine union frequency. Because for a lot of that energy that we're seeing right now, and I'll put it this way, if this is the masculine energy deep within divine union that is articulating upon their frustrations, their anxieties, their doubts, and their fears, a lot of the feminine energy is almost reaffirming to masculine that ability of having so much concern for something amplifies how much they care about it, right? Like this is almost the feminine energy saying to masculine within divine union that their ability to feel that emotional overwhelm is the expansion and the expression point of how much they truly care. So we see even now that a lot of, and while for feminine energy right now, and this is like the feminine almost potentially coming into that space of supporting the masculine to a certain extent here, because there's almost a little bit of this masculine energy right now that almost needs that energetic easement in relationality to not feeling like the weight of the world is on their shoulders to a certain extent, particularly and especially if this is a lot of masculine energy that puts a lot of their own personal intrinsic value on feeling that responsibility. So a lot of that work right now, there's a lot of I want to say very emotional conversations that are potentially occurring today. While for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union, this is a little bit more of that overprotectiveness that might be occurring right now that needs a little bit of redistribution or correction. Particularly and especially if there are some modalities here where, and again, like I keep getting this like clumsy energy for so much of these connections that are coming into divine union right now, because these are like, it's like I keep getting like, it's like the bumping elbows kind of thing, right? It's like the energy that like oversteps but then like immediately apologizes, so that's what I see even now, that for some of that energy, feeling and experiencing those like moments of trying to find a comfortability point, even if it feels like it's redefining what that is, there's something here that feels very joyous in the act of doing so. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is, and it's a little bit more, it's a little bit more difficult for masculine right now, because this is a little bit of the masculine that's a little bit more, I want to say, emotionally overprotect. Like there might be, I'm going to just say it, there might be some feminine energy coming into divine union that has to navigate the masculine being a little emotionally overprotective towards feminine. While for masculine, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. While for masculine and feminine energy that is in separation right now, there's a lot, like, I see a lot of masculine energy in separation, trying to work through a solution to a problem is what I'm really seeing. Like, I'm just identifying, it really feels like a lot of this masculine energy that is trying to navigate through, it's like this is masculine energy trying to find some kind of like workable solution to a tangible problem. And one of the things that may be a little difficult for masculine today is like something about it. It's like when masculine feels that there's something that they can't enact a change upon, it can be very emotionally triggering for the masculine. Feminine is a little bit more like accepting of circumstances and situations to a certain extent, and we see it even here. So, and we see that in that way, like a lot of the conversations I can see right now, what's difficult is the fact that it looks like there's so much compassion that is being put forth both like towards the energies in question. Like it keeps giving me the same experience of seeing someone like almost seeing like masculine say like, I'd like to make these changes, and feminine saying, I don't want you to make changes on my account, and masculine being like, I'm not doing it for you, I'm doing it for me because that's what I want to do. You know what I mean? So it's a little bit of that, like it's a little bit of that kind of like chicken and the egg kind of conversation that I think is happening here, because the feminine energy is almost like in that modality of not wanting the masculine to feel like they have to overextend themselves, and masculine almost trying to articulate to feminine and saying it's no trouble at all, right? Because a lot of this energy is healing from spaces and places wherein like either and this is why something about this feels like it's so healing, because for feminine energy experiencing that, I told you, the clarification and seeing someone going to the energetic effort, while for masculine seeing feminine, that's almost again like saying like being energetically mindful of not wanting to take too much of the masculine's bandwidth. Like we see even now, like these are two like healed energies, like these are the healed energies like trying to heal towards one another but like bumping each other along the way. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our King of Cups in its reversal and our Wheel of Fortune in its reversal. One card to flying to the ground in its transverse position. We've got here our Chariot in its reversal. I gotta stress right now, like for some of the energy in separation, and this is why I'm going to tell you right now not to get triggered today. Don't do it. Don't you dare get triggered today. I'll be so upset at you. It feels like a little bit of an impasse. Like that's what I meant about the two healed energies hitting a bit of an emotional impasse here. Because, I see even now, there's almost masculine energy that I almost see some masculine energy in separation that, like I feel like there's a lot of masculine energy right now in separation that's trying to navigate through some situations between, like, I want to say, like, it feels a little bit like a little bit of a conflict between the head and the heart space here. You know, it's like, it's like, it's, I can see it. It's like, I feel like there's a lot of this masculine that's like working through some circumstances or situations of, like, you know, either trying to figure out, I'm going to say this, either trying to figure out a productive solution to an energetic problem, like to a tangible problem, or, you know, working through some over emotionality. And I'm going to, especially for the masculine today, I'm going to say this, please don't get triggered. Like, please don't get triggered today, because I can almost see that there's something about the masculine energy today where the amount of emotional feeling that you have, you know, being able to articulate it in a way that feels like it is productive instead of just like an emotional, like, outpouring. Like, make sure that masculine energy today, make sure that your emotions articulate your intentions, because sometimes recognizing that when we just speak from a place of emotions, we can often move ourselves in directions that are oppositional towards what we're trying to do. And I see that there's a lot of the masculine energy right now that is like doing that work, right? It can be like when you have big feelings, sometimes being able to put those big feelings into like in a way that articulates the heart, like at the heart, like what's at the heart of them. It can be difficult, right? Because sometimes it's like the feelings interrupt the intentions. So just be a little mindful of this today, masculine. Like, if you've got some big, like, if you're trying to, like, let that be a heart opening moment, and let yourself just take a moment and focus and determine like what that direction is. Prior to putting something, like prior to speaking. While for feminine energy right now, you know, I can see that this could be some of the feminine energy right now that's feeling or navigating something with masculine. And I keep seeing this between emotion and change, right? Between emotion and change, between what someone feels versus how someone is able to change within that feeling. And so I see even now, like, I see like two different modalities occurring within the energy and separation, which is, again, potentially feminine experiencing a masculine that wants to make big changes to move towards feminine in some fashion, and feminine saying, like, you know, I don't want to see you kind of, you know, make difficulties for your own self in the experience of coming towards me. While I also see that there's some of that masculine energy, right? Like, there's other feminine energy right now that may be navigating through situations and circumstances of masculine, you know, communicating how they feel, but not necessarily getting any idea, like not being able to, like, looking at something and trying to articulate the difference between being, like, having someone express how they feel versus like what feels like it's energetically productive, right? So we see even here that this could be like, this is some of that retrograde energy that's, like, you know, coming to the forefront, like, in a big way today. So just be mindful of that. Masculine and feminine energy that's coming into divine union. This is more just like, this is like something, this is getting settled. There's a lot of energy here that just feels like they're coming into some kind of, like, I told you, the beauty of the retrogrades is it knocks you out of the groove. So sometimes you can find a new groove. I feel like a lot of this energy coming into divine union already got knocked out of the groove, but they intentionally knocked themselves out of the groove because they moved into a deepening energetic commitment prior to the Mercury retrograde period. So now we see that a lot of that energy is kind of like reshuffling, reorganizing, learning new ways to be with one another based on the fact that they moved into a deepening of an energetic connection. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, deep within the divine union frequency, this is more masculine energy feeling frustration or restlessness in the stagnancy period of the retrograde period. Because that stillness I'm going to say it even now, the stillness can be a real blessing if you focus it in spaces and places of building out new plans, new projects, new pathways. If you're not doing that, it can be a little like it can drive you a little like it can drive you a little nuts, like it can make you feel a little cuckoo. So like being able to being able to feel that in a way that is productive. Feminine is being able to be much more productive in that space. Feminine, I just see, is chipping away at their like to-do list today. Feminine's always got the to-do list, so they're just like going ahead and doing it. Masculine may be feeling a little bit more, I want to say, more in a rut right now with it. So again, masculine, if you're feeling like you're in a rut, again, make sure that you don't go into any like emotional outbursts because of that rut energy, because like I see even here, it's just, it can lead to a little bit of that like shortness today, right? If you're not utilizing it in productive ways. Continuing to get clarification between our Wheel of Fortune in its reversal, our Temperance, our Devil card, our Death card. This is some of that hairiness today that I was talking about. This right here is a mess. It's a mess, okay? Can I please have one card to clarify? One card to clarify, please. What is this? What is this mess? Yeah, but here's the thing. What did I just say to you? What did I just say? What happens when there's a mess? Clean it up, clean it up, clean it up, clean it up. Let that messiness like build into new unconventional approaches to things. Let that messiness move you outside of if you're feeling like the box is messy, think outside of the box for a minute. Because I see, like, again, I'm going to say it again. I'm going to keep speaking for the Mercury retrograde here. The Mercury retrograde, everybody say it with me. The Mercury retrograde is not here to make your life like a nightmare. Okay. The Mercury retrograde is here to help you get out of your ruts, get out of your groove. Sometimes we're so carved into what we do. We forget those opportunities of doing something differently. And it's only when something goes a little bit sideways that we see, like when something goes sideways, sometimes we're able to see from a different perspective, right? Like, it's like if you trip, you can see what's on the ground. You know what I mean? Like let that be that moment that you recognize that even in those little kerfuffles, there may be something that is being given to you that's helping you expand upon something that you didn't consider before. Like give the Mercury retrograde its due in that way. And there could be a lot of possibilities and opportunities that come through today, particularly in relationality to taking unconventional approaches around things that feel like they're frustrating, right? Continuing to get for masculine, and that's across all of the frequencies. Now for the energy deep within the divine union frequency, and it's harder today for masculine than feminine right now, because it's creating that anxiety about like emotion, like the emotionality here from the masculine. Just make sure that you're keeping in check today, my friends. While for masculine and feminine energy right now that is coming into divine union, this is what I meant about a little bit of that overprotectiveness. Right? Like masculine energy, don't let yourself get overprotective here too, because I see even now that for a lot of that masculine energy, I don't know what this is. This is almost coming through to me like, this is almost the energy like, moving closer to one another and experiencing moments or modalities of, seeing something energetically precious that someone like I don't know why they're saying like mementos, like things that like, the significant aspects of things that like, I feel like there's that space or place, like I almost feel like for a lot of the energy right now moving into divine union, it's almost like a lot of like, there's unpacking here, but there's also a lot of emotional unpacking that is potentially occurring here. And some of it is coming through right now in masculine energy, feeling a little energetically overprotective towards feminine. So again, and this is where it falls into the same space I was talking about for the energy and separation. If something makes you feel emotional today, masculine, make sure that you communicate through it. Don't assume to it. Make sure that you communicate through it. You don't assume to it. Okay? Because through via the communication, like I said, that could be like, this could be a modality where like there could be a lot of deep conversations today, a lot of energetic breakthroughs, as opposed to anything that feels like it may have created deeper triggers in the past. While for masculine and feminine energy and separation right now, there's a lot of energy right now that is working through a lot of the situations that feel like they're triggering because the situation as such is making some kind of energetic connection difficult. And so I see even now, it may feel like there's a lot of energy and separation that is either recognizing and identifying the space or place of having to feel like they need to energetically let go of a connection because of the tangibles feeling like they're too much of an energetic obstacle, or they're trying to take new energetic approaches in terms of how to navigate and solve them. Continuing to get clarification right now between our death card, our devil card, our temperance card in its reversal, and our justice card. So like this is just a lot of that energy today. Can I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our three of, like, I'm telling you right now, if you feel frustrated today, I'm not going to hear it tomorrow. If you pop your top and you become reactive, because there's a lot of this energy that we're seeing right now that feels like it can be profoundly productive, like a lot of, like, I want to say a lot of those deepening of energetic connections to a certain extent. Now for masculine and feminine energy, deep within the divine union frequency, a lot of this work that we're energetically seeing right now has to do with that feeling of, again, breaking out of what may feel like an energetic rut. So for a lot of energy right now, again, not letting yourself feel that point of emotional frustration, but instead letting it kind of amplify productivity into new spaces and places. That's that moment that a hurdle becomes an opportunity, that a difficulty becomes an advantage. So being able to navigate in that way today, that's why this type of energy can feel like it's so challenging, because it can feel like it's really, really frustrating in the process. But if you navigate it with a state or space of trying to become, instead of instead of becoming caught in the overwhelm of the energetic imbalance, but instead articulating through it and becoming productive through it, there could be a lot of new opportunity that potentially opens up for you in the wake. While for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now, this is more of that, like, I just see that there's a lot of that, like, unpacking here. There's a lot of this energy that I'm seeing right now that's just, I want to say it's like a lot of this right now is like, this is the energy that's feeling, I want to say, it's like feeling a little bit of those wibble wobbles. I told you that clumsiness as they come into the deepening of an energetic connection. But even here, a little bit of this, the reason I see that it's so navigable is because it was so energetically desired. Like, this is the energy that, like, recognized that they were, like, moving towards one another in this way to be able to get into that type of energetic messiness. So we see even now that, like, this is the energy that, like, even if it's energetically messy, it feels like it's productive, specifically and particularly because it's allowing for, like, something, like, this is the energy that, like, feels like they're building some kind of new energetic foundation for themselves in the process. While for the energy right now in separation, a lot of this work that we're potentially seeing at this time, it has to do with, I'm seeing a lot of closure. I'm seeing either a lot of closure or new possibilities here. Because for some of the energy in separation right now, that ability of looking at something and addressing it and trying to see trying to determine what one can do, what one can feel like, what one feels like one can change, versus like what one needs to just kind of accept going forward. For a lot of that energy in separation, this is either that moment of feeling like you're coming into a point of like deep healing with another connection, recognizing that the tangible hurdles are what are causing like something to be too energetically difficult in order to proceed. Or this is energy that is still working very voraciously to try to find some kind of solution. Continue, and for masculine, I see here it's a little bit more emotionally overwhelming, because I see that masculine is more in that modality of trying to find a solution to a problem. You know, feminine is more in that place of putting compassion towards masculine and not wanting to see the masculine energy overextend themselves in the process. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Ace of Cups in its upright and our Chariot in its transverse, that typical retrograde energy. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Five of Cups in its upright. So a lot of the energy in separation right now, I'm still seeing there's a lot of contemplation here. And there's a lot of contemplation that's occurring right now for energy in separation, particularly in relationality. There's something about the present experience that's in a little bit of it's like a little bit of that lull that's allowing for a lot of consideration in relationality to the past. And I'm gonna say this again for any of the energy in separation. If there's something that is occurring in your present context that's making you look back on a situation from the past and wish that you had done something different, then that is a gift, because that is showing how far you have grown. It shows how far you have changed. So even here, that ability of recognizing that, because for a lot of the energy, experiencing something in the tangible space right now is providing a lot of context and clarity on something from the past. For masculine and feminine energy, it is having a different impact. For feminine today, it may feel more, I want to say, it may feel more frustrating. It may feel more, it's frustrating, but it also feels validating. You know what I mean? Like, this is giving me some kind of energy of feminine that's seeing something in a way that both like frustrates and validates. For masculine, it may be feeling that sense of something that feels more emotionally overwhelming. So for both of these energies right now, like that ability of coming into a state or space of like consideration for the past, a lot of that energy is doing so specifically because this is a retrograde, something about observing and considering the past right now. I feel like it's helping. It's like reaching into the toolbox of the past to try to figure out a way to overcome the energetic hurdles of the present. And there's a lot of energy that's being very conscientious in separation about not wanting to repeat any kind of energetic cycles from the past, which is healthy and positive, right? Because I'm seeing that there's a lot of energy in separation that's taking accountability in that way. While for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into, but it's heavy, right? It could feel a little energetically dense today for that reason. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is moving into divine union, there's a lot of nostalgia here. There's a lot of nostalgia I'm seeing that is potentially coming towards a lot of the energy right now, coming into divine union. Because I'm just seeing that there's something about that work right now. Like, it's giving me a lot of that energy and I think that, and listen, this is okay if you feel like this. Like, it's okay if you feel like this. I feel like there's a lot of that energy that's feeling the amplification of the abundance and the positivity of where they are now. But even in this act of like, and I'm not surprised to see this, because we saw that so much of this energy is transitioning into something in a way that feels more positive than it ever has before. What occurs in those moments that we experience something in a way that's more positive than we have before? It can immediately harken back to those moments that we experienced it in less than ideal ways, right? So we see even now that today, even for a lot of that energy coming into divine union, it may feel very triggering. Because some of those experiences that you're having, and especially if these are energies where in the past there was that desire to move into a deepening energetic connection, trying to fix something, and potentially feeling like it didn't get fixed as you move deeper into the connection, suddenly being in that modality of feeling and experiencing that in a whole new way. What happens in the moment that you experience it in a whole new way? It immediately harkens you back to the moment that you experienced in a less than ideal way. So today could be like, that's why I said, be very mindful of the triggers today, because we see that there's something about like the similaritude of the present to some experiences from the past today that can feel a little triggering, right? They need to be navigated in like, with that sense of discernment. While for the energy right now, deep within the divine union frequency, I feel like a lot of this energy is like, it's requiring the feminine to kind of be very supportive to masculine right now, because there's something about this lull period that we're experiencing right now that is characteristic of the retrograde. I know it feels very still, but it's like that's quality and characteristic of the retrograde, my friends. It's feeling more frustrating for the masculine. I'm seeing restlessness here. I'm seeing restlessness and potentially even volatility in feeling energetically restless. It's going to be hard. I'm going to say it right now. It's going to be for masculine energy today. If you're like a water sign, it may feel more emotional. For fire signs, this could be like, really wanting to get out and do something kind of thing. Like it's like like the air and the fire sign, the fire and the air signs, like feeling like more of that like snappishness. Emotional, like water and earth signs might be feeling more like sentimental and nostalgic today. But a lot of that work in doing so is like, again, I see that a lot of that energy is utilizing that lull in productive ways today. And a lot of focus potentially towards feminine and helping masculine, especially if they're feeling any of that energetic restlessness. Feminine's being more productive through it right now. I'm just going to tell you. I just see that there's something about the feminine. I'm going to say, like, I'm going to tell you right now, I feel like the feminine inhabits it a bit better because it feels like the feminine almost feels like time slowed down. So they're getting more stuff done. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Chariot in its transverse, in combination with our Hierophant in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Hermit in its, I told you. This is like, this type of energy today can sometimes feel like wanting to crawl out of your skin. You know what I mean? Like, that's why you got to find something to do, because it can really feel like that, like wanting to crawl out of your skin kind of energy, especially if you're not good in that modality of enjoying a lull. Like if you're not good at enjoying a lull and using it in a productive way, like this is just going to have you like feeling like you're crawling the walls to a certain extent, because it's helping you. It's also helping you navigate that space or place of like building productively in a point of energetic solitude. So for a lot of the energy navigating through this right now, masculine and feminine energy deep within the divine union frequency, there's more about that space or place that brings forth some feeling of energetic anxiety, right? And we're going to see this, like it's a retrograde. Communication's going to slow down. Things are going to start feeling like they're grinding like much, much slower. But again, that ability of recognizing that and not allowing oneself to get all in one's own headspace about it, letting it be a moment of creating, like letting that be an opportunity. For feminine, right now, it's a little bit more energetically easy. For masculine, it may be feeling more isolating today. Right? It may be feeling more of that anxiety of navigating like that stillness might be even creating some of that like fear of missing out kind of energy. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. For masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union, this is exactly the work we saw earlier this week, because this is energy that is learning new ways. They're trying to find new ways of having solitude in an energetic connection, especially if these are energetic connections that have moved into a deepening energetic commitment. I see a lot of energy that like had some big shifts during that full moon Capricorn season, potentially even moved in together, potentially got in closer quarters. There's a lot of that energy here. So a lot of that energy is redefining and relearning how to build into points of solitude while being in the energy of the counterpart. But I see even here, this is a little bit easier for the energy experiencing this, particularly and especially because this is the energy that is almost experiencing the opposite of what may have been problems in the past. So if this is the energy that in the past they were in an energetic connection, but it felt like they were always alone. It felt like they were never connected. This is almost the energy right now that's so intrinsically connected that they're trying to find a way to be in energetic solitude in the midst of trying to navigate that such a strong energetic connection with the counterpart. Well, for masculine and feminine energy, and that's like I told you, it's like getting used to something. For masculine and feminine energy right now that is in separation, this is some I feel like there's some rough things to navigate here. Especially because I see and it is a little harder right now. For masculine in separation. Because and even here I feel like there's something that is occurring in relationality to articulating, communicating, and separation right now that, you know, if these are, I'm going to put it this way, if this is masculine energy that's trying to navigate a tangible obstacle and trying to figure out like what to do about it, like there's something here that some of the masculine energy, like navigating that feeling of like recognizing the difference between what one can do and what one can accept. Like we see even here, like this is a lot of the masculine energy that's working through a lot of that path work. And a lot of it is also, and I want to say this, like a lot of this is like the masculine energy trying to find ways of communicating how they're feeling in a way that like builds an energetic bridge as opposed to moving them further away from their intentionality. I just see that there's a lot of that masculine energy and separation right now that's like navigating forth in that way, specifically and particularly if these are spaces and places wherein, like I see one of two different modalities that's occurring for masculine and separation right now. This is either masculine energy and separation that is feeling the energetic frustration of circumstances that feel like they're outside of their own like ability to correct for. But even here, I see that there's a lot of that masculine energy trying to figure out some kind of unconventional approach to navigating an energetic hurdle. Or I'm seeing here that this is masculine energy that is like trying very hard to find a way to like emotionally communicate something towards the feminine in a way that feels like it's energetically productive. Instead of like, I don't want to say like, instead of just communicating how one feels, like communicating, like putting some kind of direct action towards that emotionality, like moving some kind of emotion into a productive space. Well, for masculine and feminine energy right now, and for feminine in separation right now, you know, I feel like a lot of this work that's occurring, because a lot of this energy right now in separation is like redefining partnership to a certain degree for themselves. A lot of this feminine energy right now, you know, I feel like they're navigating some kind of territory with masculine, you know, where in, and I can see this, like some, especially if there's some circumstances here with feminine that's trying to communicate towards masculine, and it feels like there's some kind of obstacles that feel like they're too difficult. I feel like there's a lot of that feminine energy that's trying to articulate to masculine that like their own ability to protect their heart space to a certain extent is why they're trying to navigate a space or place with energetic compassion. Because I just see even now that for a lot of this energy of feminine and separation, that same experience of building forth towards a masculine and recognizing like the emotional care that is occurring there. It's clarifying, but it's also the feminine navigating it in a way that they themselves are also taking an unconventional approach, because this isn't the feminine energy that's like feeling first and asking questions later. This is a lot of the feminine energy and separation that's being very, I want to say, energetically protective of their heart space, prior to moving towards a deeper energetic commitment. This is why we see even now, like there's so much of that push and pull that's occurring right now for the energy and separation. While for continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Hierophant in its reversal in combination with our Three of Pentacles in its reversal. And this is what we like to see right now. This is what we like to see. We like to see the new approaches to the energetic problems. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Page of Cups in its reversal. Now, upright. What am I saying? Reversal. And it's upright. So and this is the thing. There's a lot of energy and separation right now that's navigating forward from a space of hope. Like, there's something here that almost feels like it's energetically hopeful to a certain extent, because we're seeing even here that like a lot of this energy and separation, I'm getting one of two different modalities that's coming through right now for the energy and separation. These are either the energies that have articulated and defined that the tangible hurdles are such that it's not allowing for the ability to come forward into an energetic connection. At which point, the ability to like release one another from a place of not taking something energetically personally is allowing for this feeling of hopefulness as it relates to moving forward into energetic connections, because these are the energies that just set new standards in the process of going through that experience together. Or this is energy that is still trying to work through if there is some kind of solution to those tangible hurdles, and they're being very hopeful in the process. Or these are energies that are, still maintaining a deep friendship in some way, shape, or form, recognizing that the time or the space isn't correct right now. But that's that moment that, again, they're like shifting where they exist within each other's like experiences, with that recognition that there's still something very valuable and intrinsic that exists between them. While for masculine and feminine energy right now that is coming into divine union, a lot of this work that I'm seeing for the energy coming into divine union right now, this is the delight in laying new groundwork. This is the energy I told you. It's messy, but it's a happy mess. This is like moving mess. This is like unpacking mess. So this is like a little bit of that, like I told you, if it's clumsy, it feels like it's positive. It feels like it's productive. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is deep within the divine union frequency, a lot of this work that I'm seeing deep within the divine union frequency right now is built upon and based upon, I want to say, that this is a lot of that energy lifting each other's spirits at a moment that you feel like that sense of laying new groundwork, because a lot of that energy, especially the masculine right now, deep within the divine union, feeling the frustration of some of that like stillness or that slowdown that we experience during the retrogrades, is creating a restlessness in the masculine energy. Feminine, it feels more easy and productive, and we see even now like this is the energy that like lifts, like this is almost the feminine energy trying to lift the masculine spirits in a way by keeping like moving them into those spaces of places of productivity in the process. Continuing to get clarity on these cards right now between our Five of Cups in combination with our Hermit in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. clarification coming through right now with the Queen of Cups. So in its upright. So a lot, this is what I meant about this. There's something about this energy right now that is easier for the feminine energy to navigate. Why is it easier for the feminine energy to navigate? Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Because feminine's got a lot to do. Feminine's got a lot to do here. Feminine, I could see a lot of feminine energy concentrate. Like there's a lot of this like energy of the feminine focusing on the practicals today. Getting a lot of stuff done, getting a lot of stuff started, getting a lot of stuff knocked off of that to-do list, because that lull, like it's almost like, like I feel like the masculine energy right now is experiencing that like stillness of the Mercury retrograde by waiting for the army to approach off the hill. Feminine's just kind of experiencing it and being like, oh, it's nice and quiet today. You know what I mean? Like, it's like feminine is just getting stuff done to a certain extent, like just kind of being productive and working in that space or place. But again, I think a lot of that work is also the feminine is more in that modality that, it's easier for the feminine to navigate spaces and places like this to a certain extent because, especially because feminine has that modality so frequently of feeling the emotional overwhelm of the demands around them. When they have that stillness point, it's like the feminine finally starts feeling a little bit more energetically easy because it feels like this is a lot of the feminine feeling like they've gotten some time, like they're utilizing that time in a productive way. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, and the feminine may have to this is like masculine may having to take a little bit of a page from the feminine's book today, because masculine, I can definitely see, don't get triggered today, masculine, because this is straight up restlessness here. This is straight up restlessness and volatility. So feminine energy, be a little kind today to the masculine energy. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union. I almost see here, I gotta say, I almost see a lot of this energy that's moving into closer energetic quarters and trying to navigate through or sort through things. There's a little bit of, I keep seeing a little bit of this going through things to a certain extent. Again, either emotional unpacking or tangible unpacking. And that's why we see that so much of this here, it's a little bit bittersweet, because I gotta say, I feel like there may be something that occurs today. And I'm going to say it right now to you, masculine energy. It feels like feminine that articulates some kind of sentimentality towards something that feels like it's emotionally triggering to masculine in some way. So I'm going to say this again, masculine. If you feel emotionally triggered by something that the feminine brings some kind of sentiment towards, I want you to articulate through it, not assume. Don't come into the pathwork of assumption. Come into the pathwork of discussing how you feel. Because I'm seeing even now, we got a little bit of this perfect storm energy of the masculine being a little bit, a little emotionally sensitive today. And then I can almost see the feminine being a little nostalgic and sentimental about something. And I can see a little bit of that trigger potentially getting hit. And so if you experience that, articulate through it. Don't react. Please don't react to it. Don't assume. Inquire. Okay? Because I can see even now, I don't know why they're saying this. They're saying feminine can be very nostalgic for things that they're no longer attached to. Okay, I don't know what they're saying. It's really important to note this. Feminine can become very sentimental to things that they're no longer attached to. Masculine has more of an ability when they're not attached to something, they energetically let it go. So just keep that in mind right now, because I feel like that's something that's very important that needs to be articulated in the collective. While for masculine and feminine energy that is in separation right now, a lot of this energy right now, it feels like it's holding space. And I think even now I'm seeing that there's some of this energy. If there's something about the tangible hurdles between an energetic connection happening, feminine is coming more into a space of easement because feminine is more in that modality of being able to accept the things. Feminine is more in that modality of being able to accept the things that can't be changed to a certain extent, right? Like this is almost the feminine. If this is feminine seeing masculine, like trying to struggle through something that feels like it can't be changed, this is almost the feminine energy saying, I appreciate that. Like I see and recognize that. For masculine, it may feel more triggering and overwhelming because this is almost masculine looking to feminine being like, I'm glad you appreciate it because I don't like, this is more the masculine feeling the frustration point. Like masculine does not come into a point of like easement when there's something that they feel like they cannot change. Masculine gets into that modality of like, I feel like even now I see a lot of masculine. It's like, you know, turning their wheels and saying, well, maybe like there has to be something that we can do here, you know? So a lot of that work that we're seeing right now, that's why I said there could be that modality right now about the sense or the space of speaking towards one's emotions, but in a way that feels like it's productive. Continuing to get clarification between our Hermit card and its reversal and our Page of Cups and its upright. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Queen of Wands in its reversal. So, masculine and feminine energy that is in separation. You know, this is like I feel like there is some energy right now in separation that like these are some of the energetic hurdles that are potentially coming through right now in separation. Specifically because and we see it even here. Like what I'm seeing in separation right now is there is some feminine energy, bearing in mind it's not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. And we saw this. There was a lot of that practicality that came through as it relates to the double Capricorn full moons. There's a lot of feminine energy in separation right now that is being very energetically mindful in relationality to not wanting to give their heart towards something if it feels like it's putting it in a space or place where it's not going to be it's not going to be safe, it's not going to be secure for it to be, right? Like this is a lot of the feminine energy that is like utilizing a lot of practicality in relationality to like navigating from their heart space in such a way. So we see even here, there's like a lot of this work that's happening right now towards masculine, potentially trying to come towards feminine in a way. But masculine's trying to come towards feminine in a way that feels like it's emotional. Like it feels like that masculine that's like expressing that emotionality. But we see here, if there are tangible obstacles that make it hard for a connection to form, this is almost the feminine energy, like stepping back to a certain extent and saying, I recognize that you may feel something, but this is almost the feminine energy trying to like amplify some kind of like compassion towards an energetic connection, saying, you know, it doesn't feel like the right energetic decision because of those factors that would make it energetically difficult, right? We almost see that. It's like the feminine, like kind of like putting a little bit of that guardrail up towards masculine in that capacity. And that's why we see even now, this could be some kind of like space or place for like, I want to say these are either energetic connections that are coming through, and this could even be some energy from the past here because it's the retrograde. Of feminine, like having masculine coming towards them in some space of articulating how they feel. And the feminine almost looking towards masculine and saying, okay, the feeling is good, but the plan is better. Like, what does that look like? You know, like it's almost the feminine looking to masculine and saying, you know, the feeling needs to be matched with like a pathwork forward, or else it's like that feeling or that experience doesn't feel like that one that's going to unify us. It feels like something that's going to create a state or space of like difficulty or isolation, right? So we see even now, this could be a space of like hard conversations that are happening in relationality to like emotions versus like what the shape of that plan is. Like, what does that look like beyond the emotional expression? Like, what is the tangible there? So we see, and for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union, a lot of this energy right now. And again, there's something I'm seeing even here about the energy coming into divine union, learning how to like find moments, or learning both. I don't know why I keep seeing this. This is almost energy that's getting to know one another more, and feminine articulating on something, and masculine being more emotional about it. Because again, I keep getting this message of them saying to like, feminine holds on to things that they don't energetically care about. Masculine only holds on to things that they do. So we see even now, like there's almost like some kind of like conversations that are happening where there might be that ability of potentially like step on, like inadvertently, like something that like stings. But like, I'm going to say it again, don't assume, articulate through. Like ask those energetic questions, because we see even here, there could be a lot of that space or place of like misunderstandings. But even in that modality, we see that there's a lot of potential. This could be the deepening of an energetic connection through articulating those emotions, so long as you don't come into a space of reacting towards them or subjecting another to those emotions. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is deep within the divine union frequency, a lot of this work that we're seeing right now, this is where this retrograde is bothering the feminine, right? Because for a lot of the feminine energy right now, like a lot of that work in this retrograde period, like building into those plans, like laying that groundwork, like this is some of the frustration that the feminine is navigating to a certain extent. Because for a lot of the energy right now of the feminine navigating those spaces and places, this is the feminine like working through those that like, and this is the energetic standards that the feminine is setting for themselves going forward. Like we've been seeing this. Masculine's been doing a lot of work in the compassion space. Feminine's been doing a lot of work in the courage space. So for a lot of the work right now that the feminine's doing, particularly deep within the divine union, it's almost like the feminine energy, like articulating like the courage that they're trying to bring forth as they go forward from this time. Because for a lot of this energy of the feminine, finding that voice, like whenever you're doing something in a different way, it's requiring you to kind of step forward to a certain extent. And we see here, this is how the masculine is helping the feminine through this, because this is the masculine almost like giving the feminine that like that pep talk, like giving the feminine that like energetic boost, if you will, to help like amplify their own plan and their own course going forward. So this is how the energy within the union is like helping one another at this time. Bottom of the deck on this reading today is, we've got here our Six of Wands. Why am I saying bottom of the deck? The final card for today's read, excuse me. But that makes a lot of sense given what we're experiencing right now. Because for the Six of Wands energy here as our final card, what we're really identifying is like this feels like, I'm telling you, it feels like low. It feels the energy is low right now. It's quiet. It feels very still, right? So it can be very easy to start to feel that anxiety in relationality to things that you're doing, having the ability of like moving towards their point of success in the way that you would hope or aspire. I'm going to say this to you guys emphatically right now. It's the retrograde. It's the retrograde. Experiences like this during the retrograde are very common. It can be hard for us to remember them. But like a lot of this feeling, like navigating through those hurdles, not letting yourself feel frustrated, not letting yourself lose energetic hope, letting that feeling of positivity, letting that feeling of like expansion propel you forward right now. If there's something, remember, the retrograde isn't here to just mess up your groove. The retrograde is here to help you find a new one, or help you like make sure that the groove that you're choosing is the one that you choose to be in. So for a lot of the energy right now, taking new approaches to energetic problems is the name of the game. And your ability to identify and recognize that to a certain extent, even in modalities that may be creating those like, points of frustration, those like little aggravations. Let them be, like, let that frustration be what empowers you right now to come through with new energetic solutions. For masculine and feminine energy right now, deep within the divine union, a lot of this has to do right now with, I want to say, a lot of it has to do right now with that, the recognition point in how you dealt yourself in the process. So again, if you're doubting yourself, don't let yourself get overwhelmed in that doubt. Articulate it through the counterpart. Because I'll tell you right now, the thing that unifies all of us is the moments that we doubt ourselves. There's one thing, I promise you, the one thing you're not alone with in this world is your doubt. That's the one thing I promise you that we all share in some capacity and some degree. While for masculine and feminine energy, that is, and for masculine, it's emotional. It's like restless. For feminine right now, it's frustrating insofar as laying those plans. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, coming into divine union, a lot of this work that we're seeing right now during this retrograde period, I'm going to tell you even now, I feel like there is that energy. Like, I want to say this, if you were trying to move into a deepening energetic connection, and now you're getting into like a little bit of that area of having a little bit of fracas, remember that you wanted that. Remember that that's what you wanted. Remember that that's where the good stuff is. Because I see even now that even that energy coming into divine union, it's juicy. Like, there's some juicy energy here. There's a little bit of this, like, I want to say there's a little bit of this back and forth that we're seeing. There may be, and I want to say this even now, masculine, do not assume something. Do not assume something, especially if feminine says something that, or something occurs. Don't let that assumption build into some kind of experience here. Inquire. Articulate how you're feeling instead of operating from where you're feeling. Because that's going to be a space or place where I feel like, again, there could be a lot of deep emotional conversations that open up today, so long as you don't become reactive or volatile. But you got to work on it today, especially masculine. You heard me say this. Do not be volatile today, masculine. If you feel triggered, articulate on it. Express how you're feeling. For masculine and feminine energy right now in separation, a lot of this energy in separation right now, I feel like there's a lot of heaviness in relationality to choice. And I'll put it this way, again, feminine energy, I mean, this is the message I have to give to feminine energy right now. Feminine energy, if you're experiencing those moments right now where masculine's asking to do something for you or desires to move towards you in some way, and you're in that modality of saying, I'm not asking you to do that, recognize and identify that, like, if that's the desire and choice of the masculine, then like that's in a way their own ability is like how they're trying to express what that desire or like what that desire is. Because I see even here the difficulty or the hurdle with some of the feminine energy in separation right now is I feel like there's a little bit of the feminine energy that's navigating between the space. Like, this is a hard retrograde for feminine because I feel like there's a little bit of the feminine that's doing work between their head and their heart space. And I feel like there might be something that the masculine's proposing that feels a little, I want to almost say like romantic. But like, and I think even here, like there's a lot of that feminine energy that's like working through the ability or the anxiety of throwing caution to the wind. Don't let your fear stop you. Let your intuition guide you here. While for masculine energy right now, and again, if you're feeling let the consistency of a plan help articulate like whether there is something that feels like it's possible. While for masculine energy right now, remember that the ability to articulate upon one's emotionality is one thing. But, feminine energy is not in a modality wherein they want to kind of share heart space if there isn't that plan or path going forward here. So we see even now that for a lot of the masculine energy, like trying to work through that workable solution. And if not being able to come into a workable solution, like understanding and respecting that isn't feminine coming into a space of like pushing you away, but trying to do what they feel is energetically best. Like I see even now that a lot of that energy is like, you know, recognizing and identifying the difference between what feels like like a solvable problem versus like like uh like like something that is frustrating but would be too emotionally difficult moving forward. But I see even here like a lot of that, like navigating forward in that way, like I see that it's being dealt with either like compassion or constructive planning. Bottom of the deck on this reading right now, 3 of Cups in its reversal. So a lot of this energy here, like I said, a lot of this energy here that we're navigating has to do with like there's a lot of energy right now that's going through those experiences or those modalities of, you know, especially if these were authentic connections that were forming in the middle of like what feels like tangible obstacles. You know, there's a lot of this energy here that like we're seeing in separation that feels like the amplification of not necessarily like this is not energy that's in the modality of like moving into new energetic connections at the time. I'm not surprised to see it because there's so much of this energy of like nostalgia and contemplation here. It's not really giving me the vibes of like that desire to just move forward, even if there is hope that is coming through right now. I'd say that like taking the time that you need right now in separation is valuable and important, because I see even here, like there's a lot of the energy in separation that's trying to navigate through a problem to try to articulate upon a solution. But a lot of it is also feeling like there's a lot of catharsis that's happening in relationality to healing from past experiences with that deeper sense of clarity. So allow that to be a moment of of affirmation and reassertion in relationality to what your goals are. Like really focus on what those manifestation goals are and see if the energy around you is in alignment in order to facilitate the achievement of them. And also the difference between, they're saying to me, the difference between a momentary problem versus something that can be solved on the long term. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is like moving into divine union, like a lot of that work that we're effectively seeing right now is navigating on spaces and places wherein we're recognizing and identifying, like I said, there's some clumsiness that's potentially coming to the surface right now, particularly as it relates to the energetic past. I feel like there's something about this right now where some energy is coming into divine union, and something about it's the retrograde. Something about the past is potentially emerging to the surface. But again, what happens in those modalities where we don't build upon assumption of the past reemerging or reappearing, but we articulate through it. We allow for breakthrough points and the deepening and enhancing of energetic connections. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is deep within the divine union frequency, a lot of this energetic stillness may have to do with just that sense of like not feeling a lot of that activation in the energy that's around you right now. It may feel like there's a little bit of that slowdown in relationality to responses or activity, particularly in connections to things that you're doing with others right now. I'm going to say it again. It's the retrograde. Like this is very energetically common. And I think that even now, like having those spaces or places of navigating the doubts and fears, don't assume. Don't take something energetically personally. Recognize and identify everyone's doing the best they can. And as you navigate forward with that space of grace, like it will be like, recognize that's something that can come back to you as well. Because I just see even now, there's a lot of that work that's happening in terms of being able to take this time to be able to make to build into those energetic connections right now. And I see even here, like something to do with that. It has to do with I want to say feeling some frustration in relationality to the connectivity points of others. in the process. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and experiencing it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, gracestrega.com. Booking a private reading with me is a two-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I'll never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website, so I encourage you to do it there. Also, just a couple of updates before we move into personal readings for today. First and foremost, thank you to everybody who attended our Empress class last month. Our next class will be held on Wednesday, August 14th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be continuing our journey into the tarot with an exploration into the Emperor card. If you would like to become a part of that class program, all you need to do is head over to my Substack, gracestrega.substack.com. Your paid subscription to my Substack will grant you access and entry into our live classes. You will also have access to the course materials and recordings for all of our previous classes. You'll also have access to a one-on-one chat with me to ask any questions that you may have in relationality to anything that we have learned thus far. And if you become a founding member to my Substack, not only will you receive a discount on the full year's worth of readings, but you will also receive a complimentary mentorship reading with me, wherein we will assess where you are on your own personal tarot journey, and I'll give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best of your advantage going forward. One of the things I tried to do in these classes was make them so that they be useful to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. So thank you if you've already subscribed to my class program, and I look forward to potentially seeing you at our next class. And even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my Substack, I would encourage you to follow me there to be able to stay up to date on any new offerings, events, courses I may be hosting. I'm also posting all of the giveaway information there, as well as my newsletter, which gives you an update on my live schedule. Speaking of giveaways, we have announced the winner to our July tarot giveaway. If you would like to get on the list for our August giveaway, all you need to do is head over to my head over to the link tree in my bio. There's a 2-minute travel survey there. Filling out that travel survey will grant you an access entry into the giveaway. But if you would like to increase your chances of winning, all you need to do is go ahead and send that survey to a friend, because when I pull the winner of the survey, I will be giving away a reading not only to the winner of the giveaway, but also to whoever referred them. Thank you if you've already entered, and I hope that and I wish you the best of luck winning this month. Finally, for any of my clients that are seeking new ways of working with me, I'm very happy to offer, on top of my standard life path readings, mentorship classes. These can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class package for 45-minute classes, one per month over the course of a month, that can be focused on whatever area you are most invested in learning upon. I take a very limited amount of students for this reason. Also, for my clients that are seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm very happy to offer weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute readings, one per week, so that you can stay more consistent on your journey. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages, and we will do this again tomorrow.